Okay.
We are back on Morning Line. Ron Johnson's with us. He is the coordinator for the mayor's newly created Community Safety Board, talking about some of these issues in our community that are so important to us, and he's the man for the job to get this going. I think you've got a lot of great ideas. A lot of them have been discussed before. The key is having the person like you to push it through and get people, as you say, to come together and try to make a difference in this great city.
Yeah, I mean, you think about it. There's a lot of great things happening in our city. There's a lot of amazing people doing amazing things. But with all of that, imagine if we were to bring all of that greatness and amazement together.
But when you say get together, what do you mean? Like all of a sudden you make all these calls and they're going to all come together one day for a meeting in some convention hall? Or what do you mean by that?
So what I mean,
I always wonder when it says come together, that's where I get caught. And that is kind of like, it's just kind of, it's vague. Yeah. Oh, we're going to get them all to come together. Okay, I've heard that a bazillion times. So when you say come together, meaning they all on the same page with the same goal, and then what does that mean?
Well, I liken it to Belichick, or I even liken it to World War II. You take, for instance, I'm on World War II, give you a little history. So in World War II, when America got involved and got engaged, what they ended up doing was they ended up creating allyships with other countries. And they built the greatest ally that the world has ever seen that still gives us a lot of the freedoms that we live right now. Mm-hmm. Imagine if we could bring the groups and programs and organizations that are out there.
Pool their resources.
And bring them together.
Okay.
And you have someone leading that charge. Bill Belichick is a prime example.
Coach of the Patriots.
He took ordinary guys who most of those guys are not going to be in the Hall of Fame. He had some amazing Hall of Fame. He had to go. But he brought those guys together and gave them an outlet to doing and being the best that they could be in the area that they have their greatest gifts in. That's what I'm looking and hoping to do, is to tap into the gifts of all of these, because they're doing a bunch of amazing things, but what if we can focus that energy? One group be the hand, or one group is the one that handles the violence interrupters. One group handles ceasefire. One group handles this, because everybody don't need to be doing the same thing because we'll be tripping over each other.
Yeah. Okay. That's the way to go, and get everyone involved, and each one have a task kind of to address, so they're not kind of doubling up on one thing. Spread it out. All right. We got a bunch of calls for you, so let's start ripping through them. Let's go to Ann. Ann, good morning. Hi, Ann.
Good morning.
Morning.
First, I have to admit that although I'm familiar with Mr. Johnson and his history, and I am not skeptical of him, I am very skeptical of the mayor's use of electing a person to do a task. So I have to admit that I am very skeptical of that. On my street, where I have lived for 42 years, we have never had an issue of gunfire, but in the last 6 weeks, we have had 5 shootings, 2 of which have left bullets in houses, and one that left a very major drug and arsenal arrest, leading to 2 people being arrested on very heavy federal charges. 2 of the episodes, they've all happened in the last 6 weeks. We've never had this on my 4-block street. Anytime we have approached what we can do as a neighborhood, the only resolution we can come up with is more patrol, which pulls officers away from where they are needed. It's not effective use of police officers because there's no way to determine when somebody's going to ride through our neighborhood and shoot off 20 rounds of bullets. So what can you, Mr. Johnson, tell me, the average person in East Nashville waiting for the next round of bullets to go off in front of her home, which has happened 3 times now? What is the mayor's office going to do to alleviate my fears and my neighbors' fears to help us with the violence occurring on our street? Because
Okay, that's right to it. She set it up and then lays it out. What do you think? Tangibly, what can you do?
Well,
She's scared.
And I can understand that. Fear is something that we all walk out of our doors and at an at-risk position. Just being at the gas station, just getting in your car.
I don't want to walk around being in fear all the time. And actually, I'm not. If it's going to happen, it's going to happen. I just try to use good judgment. But I'm not scared all the time. But if I had gunshots on my street, that would be bumming me out.
So I'm really sorry that those are things that are happening. But the things that we can do from my position is to find out who are some of the organizations and groups and programs that are right there in that area where she lives.
Where she lives, okay.
And it's sort of like what we did, and I use all these things because I'm such a history buff, and I love talking about how the brain works and operate. Well, is that we need to flood that area. It doesn't have to be with more patrol, but if there's an organization that works in that area and they know that in these here blocks, this is where shooting has happened this many times, that many times, I can tell that organization, okay, we need you guys to focus your energy and what have you in that area.
Doing what?
Well, canvassing the area. There's
kind of neighborhood watch thing?
Yes, well, there's someone that knows who's doing what. So you think about it. In this life that we live, we have three elements that exist in a conflict. You have an aggressor, you have victims, and you have bystanders. So who should have the most strength and the most power and the most resolve in a situation like that? It's usually, people always think it's the aggressor
because the largest number is the bystanders.
The bystanders should have it, but mostly the bystanders are not equipped enough to be able to know what to do. For instance, she may not know who's doing what as far as programs and organizations in her community that she could reach out to. What we're hoping to do is to provide in all of our different communities who's doing what, and you could call them because they do have groups that are not afraid, that know some of these young people that are gang interveners. These are people that I believe if we can show and help them with a little bit more resources, they have no problem going over there and figuring out, okay, why is this shooting happening over here? Why is it just started in the last 6 months? So there's something that has changed in that dynamics if it's just starting in the last 6 months. But imagine this, being a young person that lives in the projects, and to you, it's every night that you live in that fear. And I totally respect and understand where she's coming from. So, but imagine that trauma that's happening every night. So it's a collective. It's gonna take us all. If the village doesn't get involved, it's gonna be a tough thing. But I am really going to put all that I am into getting the entire village, that's the whole city, all of the community involved and engaged on being the change and seeing the change that we need in our communities.
Let's go to Tom next. Tom, good morning. Hi, Tom.
Good morning, gentlemen. My question is this, and I will keep it simple. What exactly is a well-regulated militia? Thank you.
A well-regulated militia. I'm not, well, and he just left. A well-regulated militia. I'm wondering if he's leaning toward the idea of when you say people coming together, and then if some of these areas are getting extra violent, the community, bands together to defend themselves. Now, a militia, you think of weapons and taking up for yourself arms, but the truth is, I don't know about a militia, but more people are carrying weapons nowadays than ever before, legally so, and plenty of illegal ones as well. More people are armed than ever before. How do you view that?
Well,
now Tennessee's a big Second Amendment state, I think, and people are in favor of legal ownership of weapons, but a lot of people are packing heat these days.
Yeah, I don't really have no opinion, one way or another. If you packing your legal gun, I'm totally fine with that because it is your Second Amendment.
For personal security
and I totally understand that. But that doesn't change, what others are doing. The ones who are packing it illegal. It doesn't change their behavior because you're packing. Their behavior is their behavior. What will change their behavior is finding ways to help them deal with the trauma, the inequities, and all of the things that exist in our society that's out there. But I'll go back to it again. I don't really ascribe to militia, but I truly believe the way that we're going to change our community is getting the community to come together and everybody working and doing the things that they have the greatest gifts in, doing that.
Let's go next to Shirley. I think we've got Shirley. Shirley, good morning. Hi, Shirley.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good. I'm a first-time caller.
Okay.
Great.
Welcome.
Good. I just have a comment to make. When we talk about the problem, especially with youth and violence that's going on here in Nashville, one of the things that a lot of times that we forget, not only the trauma, but also the poor foster care system. I worked for 3 years at Davidson County Sheriff's Office. I'm a addiction mental health specialist, and when I worked with kids, these were kids that they were juveniles, but because of their violent crimes, they were being tried as an adult. Mm-hmm. And all of these kids dealt with violence. Also, they were abused in the foster care system, whether it was physically or sexually. And, that is a fact that when we look at the problem, we have to look at what is contributing factors to especially youth violence in the city.
Well, yeah, I will say this. I mean, there are a ton of very good foster parents out there, and thank goodness for them, or these children would have nowhere to go. So what you're referring to there, to me, is kind of an outlier. If there is a foster parent that is somehow molesting or damaging a child, they need to be prosecuted, found out, and locked up, okay? That I'm not going to say it doesn't happen, but it is not prevalent. The vast majority of foster parents are good people. Now, these kids may come from very difficult backgrounds, but I'm not going to put this on the foster care system.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't want to. One of the things I always believe in, you got to stay in the lane where you provide the most traction and
Mm-hmm.
you can create the most tread. So my lane is doing what I've always done, is helping people understand what their strengths are. I truly believe in the Belichick way. You have a team of people. Some people may look at them as misfit, but I say you help them tap into what they are able to do best, and then you have them to go out and do that, and you could possibly win some games and maybe even win a few Super Bowls. But that is where I believe is we got to help the people that are doing some of the amazing things that they're doing in our communities. Give them some strength and prop up to help them understand what their strengths are. And in all of those areas, we may tap into people that can help in every area that we hear people concerned about, but it's going to be us trying to help and give them the confidence along the way and the support that they'll need, and know that without a doubt, we're not going to abandon them. That's going to be very important.
Let's go next to Dominic. Dominic, good morning. Hi, Dominic. Hello.
Hello?
Hey, go ahead. Is this Dominic?
I was calling. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Are you there?
I'm here. Can you hear
Okay.
me?
Yeah, just talk into the phone and turn the TV down, and you're a little muffled, so we just got to hear you on the phone. You go ahead.
Yes, sir. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can, barely. Go ahead.
I was calling about your assistance program.
I'm sorry, what program?
Rental assistance.
Your phone is too muffled. We can't make you out.
Are you doing assistance with rent or utilities?
Oh, there we go. Okay, yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, the utility assistance and all of that, you can email us. We did that program yesterday, and it's through the Metro Action Commission. So that's something we discussed yesterday, but contact the Metro Action Commission, and they can help you with assistance for utilities and electricity and water. We're going to take a break on that note when we come back. More calls, hopefully on point, right after this. Stay with us.